Hey, how's everybody doing? My name is Seun Jubril, and welcome to another awesome tutorial. I'm very excited to be making this because we're going to be talking about the very amazing Adobe Media Encoder. We're going to talk about why you should use Adobe Media Encoder, how it can make your workflow better, how to optimize Adobe Media Encoder so it works better and faster for you, creating render presets, and just why Adobe Media Encoder is the best thing to ever touch Adobe After Effects. So let's get started. I have this project open, and this is a Sunday morning announcement that I come to every week from my home church. So I render something out of this every week. So let's say I'm done with this project and I'm ready to render it out. Usually, what you might do, or what I used to do a couple years ago, is I would go to composition and add to render queue, get my settings looking right from here to here, and then export it or render it out of Adobe After Effects. But let's say this is actually a bigger project and I need it and it's going to take like 2 hours to render, but at the same time I have a bunch of other things to do in Adobe After Effects and I don't want to wait 2 hours. So that's really inconvenient to have to do that. And to avoid that, that is why we have Adobe Media Encoder. So let's do this again. I'm done with my project. I want to render it. What do I do? Well, I go to composition. I have the tab clicked, composition, and then instead of add to render queue, I go to add to Adobe Media Encoder. And then Adobe Media Encoder opens up automatically for me. And let's give it a second. And the project gets put in there right away. So that is one way you can add a project to Adobe Media Encoder. The second way, which is kind of the same, is just file, export, and add to Adobe Media Encoder, and we see that it gets in right there. And sometimes the first way doesn't work through, at least in my experience, through composition add to Adobe Media Encoder. Sometimes it lags, and what I found out you can do, which is really cool, is you can just go to the project tab right here, find the composition in the project tab, and just take it and drag it into Adobe Media Encoder. So I just dragged into the icon in my in the bottom and just threw it in Adobe Media Encoder, which is very convenient. And that those are the three ways you can take a project from Adobe After Effects to Adobe Media Encoder. So now that we're in Adobe Media Encoder, we don't have to worry about After Effects anymore. So before we start rendering, we have to optimize Adobe Media Encoder so it can render faster. And what you want to do is you want to disable the previewing. So in this bottom left, Adobe Media Encoder will have a previewing uh, window, or a preview screen that shows you what it's rendering while it's rendering. And unfortunately, that takes up memory and RAM, and that kind of makes the rendering slower. But what you can do is you can disable that to make Adobe Media Encoder render faster without having to worry about previewing stuff for you. So to do that, we just have to go to our preferences, and on PC we can go to Edit, Preferences, and on Mac, I'm not sure how you get there, but I'm sure it's under the name and preferences somewhere, or settings. But this is what you need to have unchecked. So there's a previewing while encoder, and you want to have that unchecked, and that is going to disable the previewing, and that is going to allow Adobe Media Encoder to render faster. And you can just take a look at my settings. I have this playtime when finished, so I can hear it when it's done, and I have these looking good. For the output, I have a specific location set to. So every time I import something, it's gonna first take it to that location and then can move it where I want to. That's kind of good if you're the person that renders stuff to a specific folder all the time. But sometimes it switches for me. But this is the main place. And then appearance, personal preference, media. That looks good. Good. Looks good. Looks good. So what you really want to worry about is just have this preview while encoder unchecked, and you can have this chime if you want, and get your specific output file destination. So when you're done with that, we can just hit OK, and now that looks good. And so now what we're gonna do is go into presets. So when we're done, when we have our project in Adobe Media Encoder, we want to get a preset. We want to get a preset under the project so it can render to that preset and to that codec and format. But what we can do is we can go here. We can just click here under. the preset, and we can change in here individually. But then if we have more than one project, we'll have to do that for each one, and that can get that's kind of bad for time. So what we can do is we can create presets. Now over here in the preset browser, we have this plus sign, this minus sign, this folder with a plus sign, and we have preset settings here. We can create our presets here, or we can create our presets in here. I usually like creating them in here. So to create a preset, we're just going to click on this plus sign, and then we can call this what we want. So I usually have two presets that I go to, one from QuickTime and one from H.264. So we're going to create a QuickTime HD, and this will render your projects in beautiful HD. So we're going to get the formats to QuickTime, and we're going to go to video codec and H.264, match source, render at maximum depth, and use maximum render quality. Audio looks good. Everything looks good here. These are the most important thing, that you have the match source and up to 100, and export video and export audio, and you can click OK, and there you go, a preset has been created. So let's say we want to utilize that preset. We have our project in Adobe Media Encoder. We'll just go to the format we want, QuickTime, and we have QuickTime HD tutorial, and boom, settings match up, everything looks good, matches the source, we're ready to render. So that's one preset, and the other preset I like using is a H.264. So we'll just create another one again. We'll just go to the plus, preset name H.264 tutorial, and the format H.264. We can start off with match source high bitrate, and then we can change it from there. Export video, export audio, and match source checked. Render at maximum depth. Go to CBR. This is really important that you have it at CBR, and then we can change the target bitrate to 20. Now at 20, this is good for 1080p, rendering at 1080p, and I believe if you render at 720p, it'll be 10 to 15. So we just want to keep it at 20 and use the maximum render quality. Audio, AAC, audio codec, AAC plus version 2, and this all looks good. When we're done, we can click OK. And now when we want to use this preset, we can go to over here, H.264, and then H.264 tutorial, and just to make sure everything looks good, boom, it's all here. Then we can click OK. And so that's how you can use presets. And here's another way preset can come in handy. So let's say you have more than one project or composition that you've thrown in here. So you're working on different projects, you're working on different compositions, and you just throw them all into Adobe Media Encoder. You want to render it and be able to just walk away, but you don't want to go into each one individually and change them. But you know you have a preset that you want to use for all of them. So what you can do is you can just highlight all the projects. So I'm just clicking from the top, Shift, clicking from the bottom, or you can just go to Control A and highlight everything, and then you can change everything at the same time. So it doesn't matter where you start. Like I'll just start in the middle. I'll change this to QuickTime format, change it automatically, and I'll change this to a QuickTime HD tutorial, and now they're all ready to render under that format and under that preset. Or we could even do our other one, H.264 and H.264 tutorial. They're all ready to render under that. So that is very, very, very convenient. And just a quick tip, the QuickTime HD is going to make the file a lot larger, and the H.264 preset that I showed you is going to make it a lot smaller. And so if you want to edit your presets, you can go here, just click on it and click on this little settings bar, and then this is where you can edit your presets. And if you want to delete a preset so you don't like what you're using or you did something wrong, you can click on there and you can just click on this minus delete preset. Yes. And then minus delete preset. Yes. And so that's how you can edit and create presets and delete them. And you can also create presets in here. So let's say you just do your settings in here. This is where you can save your presets, and you can even delete presets right here with this little trash button. But I usually just like using this over here. And over here is your output file, where you can choose the output of where you want it to save. So if you can do desktop and just click yes and save, and it's going to save directly to your desktop or wherever you want. So this is Adobe Media Encoder and how you can optimize it, and I hope that you use this in your projects and it works for you. um, Thank you for watching this, and I hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.